The Breeders' Crown comes to Scioto Downs in Columbus, Ohio for the aged mare Trot. Breeders' Crown 86 is being brought to you by Castleton Farms, a tradition of excellence. By the nationwide investment firm of First Jersey Securities. Come grow with us. And by the Ohio Harness Horsemen Association and the Mid-America Racing Association at Scioto Downs. As the 1986 season got underway, Scotch Notch A proved to be the best trotting mare in the country until sidelined by a fractured cannon bone in late March. Along came Grade Singing. All she has done is to jump to the head of the class, winning 16 races and over $320,000, while equaling world championship records on both half-mile and 5/8 mile tracks. Can she make the grade tonight, or will we be toasting Scotch Notch A? Never had a race of this caliber for this size purse for older trotting mares. And what an exciting year for this division. It is so deep in talent. You know, in the sports world, words like super and great are tossed around with abandon. But tonight, truly, two of the greatest mares of this century meet in competition on this racetrack behind me at the Classic Mile Distance. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Johnson, welcoming you to the heart of it all, Ohio, a state that takes its horse racing to heart. And the setting for tonight's Distaff Summit is Scioto Downs, just 9 miles from the beautiful state capitol building. It's a delightful fall evening here. We have a fast track and a big crowd ready to witness another stop on the 1986 Breeders' Crown Series. We'll have all the action, the color, and the excitement. But first, we'll take a quick time. The conditions of tonight's race with a purse of over $239,000. Let's check the morning line for the 7 contestants. We have Baroque starting at 6-1. We have Davidia Hanover starting at 7-2. Smoky Baby starts at 15-1. Scotch Notch A is the second choice at 2-1 in the morning line. And let's look at the final 3 contestants. Grade Singing is the 8-5 morning line favorite. Cassandra Lobel starts at 30 and Vonda Hanover at 8-1. The Breeders' Crown is a series of divisional championships that have a major impact on deciding just exactly who the horse of the year will be, and certainly important in the various divisional championships. Now, just to give you an idea, in the 2 short years of the Breeders' Crown, 11 of the 18 Breeders' Crown winners were named champions of their divisions. And tonight, of course, so important in the trotting mare set. My co-host on the series is trainer Ellie Sarama. And Ellie, how about the big 3? It looks like they've been training up to tonight's race in completely different, unusual methods.
Well, our third choice in this race, Dave, Davidia Hanover, she was brought into this race in the most unconventional manner. Normally, horses get hooked to a cart and they jog several miles a day. She's under saddle. She's being ridden through the fields, through the woods, approximately 2 hours a day.
Wow. And
then she doesn't return to her stall either. She goes out in the pasture, which she shares with several sheep and a young steer.
Sounds like fun. Now, what about a couple of the other horses? How about the second choice?
Well, Scotch Notch, she broke a bone earlier in the spring, and she's training back in a little bit more of a familiar manner known to horsemen, but still, again, not the standard procedure. She was brought back in a swimming pool that conditioned her muscles and winded her up and avoided the constant concussion of the racetrack.
And quickly, before we take a look at the post-grade, how about the favorite, in this race?
Well, Grade Singing was brought back in the standard manner. She jogs and trains on the racetrack, and then she gets turned out in her own pasture.
Okay, Grade Singing, the morning line favorite. But let's take a look at all of the horses in tonight's big race in post-position order. Now, here's Baroque, and Steve DeSommer is the driver.
Well, we're looking at the best trotting mare ever in California. She's the 3-year-old filly trotter of the year in that state and the first California bred to compete on a national championship level. Her trainer-driver, Steve DeSommer, is a dash-winning champion in Sacramento and Bay Meadows.
And number 2 is Davidia Hanover, trainer-driver Per Erickson.
Well, she hasn't been at her best this year. However, she trotted to a world record of 156 for 4-year-old trotting mares. She's won the most money in the field, banking over $750,000.
Number 3 is Smoky Baby, trained by Gail Klein and driven by Gary Mills.
Well, in the past, as a 3-year-old, she won Open Stakes competition in Michigan last year. Successful campaign, winning over $84,000. She's off to a slow start this year, 0 for 5, due to a ligament problem.
Scotch Notch A is the number 4 horse. horse, leaving the paddock now, coming onto the track, trained and driven by Mike Gagliardi.
Well, she originally was brought to the United States to represent Australia in the Statue of Liberty trot. And after that series, she moved to the Mike Gagliardi stable, and since then has dominated open trots, defeating both sexes. She incidentally is the oldest mare in the field at the age of 9.
And number 5 is next. It's Grade Singing with Herve Filion.
This mare has won 36 races in the last 2 years, 53 races lifetime, easily the most wins in this field. Last year, she was 4th in the Breeders' Crown for 3-year-old fillies, and tonight she tries to win the Breeders' Crown Crystal as the best age trotting mare in North America.
Cassandra Lobel, number 6, with Jeff Foutdriver.
She's an outside contender, but she was good at 2 and was named 2-year-old filly trotter in New York State. She's been plagued with soundness problems. Trainer Steve Demas feels this is her last chance to show the potential that they all thought that she had had. And there's Harold Stead in the yellow and brown coming out of the paddock. His charge is Vonda Hanover. Well, she's been competitive in free-for-all trots in Canada, defeating male horses as well as her own sex, and tonight she tries her luck in this series.
So that's the field of horses on the track. Let's complete our broadcast team now with the third member of this program. He's a man who's done everything in the sport. A groom, an assistant trainer, a trainer, an owner, a journalist. Here's Alan Kirschenbaum.
Dave, some people say I do so many things because I don't do any of them particularly well. Anyway, we've seen the 7 mares for tonight's Breeders' Crown at Scioto, but let's take a closer look at 3 of them. Grade Singing has done everything that an age trotting mare could be asked. She has won over 2/3 of her starts lifetime, and that is an impressive statistic. She's consistently beaten the best male trotters in training and has nobly represented the United States in international competition, finishing 2nd in the Challenge Cup. Here you'll see her coming first over in the American Trotting Championship at Roosevelt Raceway, having a very difficult journey. First over with no cover, but Herve Filion, who knows that Roosevelt Raceway course, just guides his mare to the front here, and she is going to make a shambles of a very top field of age trotters of both sexes. Grade Singing is rough and tough and can sit on the outside all day, and she is the horse to beat. Scotch Notch Ace started out in 1986 as if it was going to be her season, but a broken cannon bone early in the spring interrupted her schedule. The only question as to Scotch Notch in the Breeders' Crown was whether she was going to be ready in time. Mike Gagliardi crossed his fingers and said she would be, and the proof came last week at Freehold when in her first parimutuel start, she won in 159-1 by 14 lengths, quite simply the fastest mile by a trotter in the history of Freehold Raceway. Davidia Hanover was a phenomenal 2-year-old, had perhaps the best campaign that any 2-year-old trotting filly has ever had, winning over $500,000. Ironically, her only loss that year came in the Breeders' Crown. She was a fine 3-year-old, too, with 8 wins and over $200,000 in the bank, and then changed hands in the spring this year as a 4-year-old, being sold to Hans Engren for a reported $400,000. In this mile here at the Meadowlands, she will establish a world record for age trotting mares of 156. Now, as Dave and Ellie well know, I've been wrong before, but I do guarantee that one of those 3 mares will win the Breeders' Crown tonight at Scioto. That's the easy part. The hard part is coming up with the right one. Dave?
Well, Davidia Hanover is 9-2, and Scotch Notch is 6-5, and Grade Singing even money. We'll be back with more after these messages. Horse racing is not just animals. There's a human side to this sport, and it's a team that comes to the winner's circle, horse and driver. And one of the most successful, colorful, and hardworking men in the sport is a man who has returned to the winner's circle more than any other human being in history. He's won over 1,000 races more than his thoroughbred counterpart, Bill Shoemaker. Alan Kirschenbaum takes a look at a gem of a guy, tonight's jewel in the Breeders' Crown. Let's meet Herve Filion.
A lot worse, John.
You sure
It's
could.
a lot worse.
With over 9,600 victories and over $50 million in purse money on his card, Herve Filion still gets excited about racing horses.
I'd like to be able to win over 10,000 races, so I'm 46 now. I feel good, and I feel like, I'm going to retire when I hit 65. I'm going to keep on racing horses. There's not a goal, Every time you go out there, you win a horse race, It's always a challenge out there, the unknown. There's a million and one thing out there that happens, so you just go out there and try to win races, and you get a lot of satisfaction. Believe me, I still do.
After 30 years of driving, Filion's biggest payday came last October when he won his first Breeders' Crown with Caressable as a last-minute substitute for Bill O'Donnell, whose helicopter arrived late.
You know, after 32 years of racing horses, that was the biggest purse I ever earned, you know. The 600,000, you don't race every day for that kind of purse. But I was fortunate enough that Billy didn't make it, that's all.
What does it take to be the leading driver in harness racing history? Mornings tending to his Capitol Hill Farms racing stable. Afternoons, nights, and weekends racing at tracks throughout the Northeast. Filion has kept to this grueling schedule for nearly 2 decades. It's a demanding, strenuous lifestyle, but it does have its rewards.
I got 6 kids, and I don't walk on my sleep. I got a beautiful wife, I got a beautiful home, I got lovely kids, so, you know, I feel I'm on top of the world. One thing I learned in life, you can never brag about your kid or your horses because they'll both make liar out of you.
Current odds here at Scioto Downs for the aged mare Trot in the Breeders' Crown. Baroque is 19. Davidia Hanover is at 4. Smoky Baby 35. Scotch Notch is second choice at 2-1. Great Singing is the 3-5 choice. Cassandra Lobel 35 and Vonda Hanover is 40. A lot of people like to handicap the race and say, how is it going to be raced? Who's going to go to the front? Who's going to come from off the pace? Let's check in now with our analyst, Alan Kirschenbaum, and see what he thinks.
Dave, I always heard when I was driving horses that if you have the best, drive like they're the best. The 2 favorites, I think you'll see go right out of the gate. Nobody's going to park them, and I think it's up to Mike Gagliardi whether he wants to let Herve go. His decision is better than mine, but I think Scotch Notch is going to get the good trip and is going to be able to upset the favorite right here. Dave?
And there is the number 4 horse, Scotch Notch, who's second choice now, and now from 2, she has slipped to 8-5. And Ellie, we not only have horses from around the country and Canada, we have drivers from all over the world.
That's right. This may be an international race. Steve de Somers from Belgium, Per Eriksson, a Scandinavian gentleman, Gary Mills, Herve Filion, Harold Stead, all from Canada, different parts I might add. Mike Gagliardi and Jeff Bout are both from the United States.
They're moving in behind the gate. This is a 5/8 mile track, so the race will start on the back stretch, and they'll pass the stands twice. We are probably not going to have a track or a stakes record. Quick trips at the 4-year-old aged mare Trot, 158-2, and as they get ready for the start, we'll go to the top of the stands here, and Scioto Dome track announcer Ed Grimsley for the call of the race. Ed?
Fields in motion for the Breeders' Crown. They're off and trotting in between horses. Scotch Notch fires out for the lead. Smoky Baby along the inside is on the go. Great Singing on the outside, third and moves up. Davidia Hanover along the inside is 4th. Baroque came away 5th. Cassandra Lobel drops in 6th. Vonda Hanover trails the field. Quickly in the straight alignment, and the favorite, Great Singing, leads it by a length. Scotch Notch on the inside is 2nd. Smoky Baby right there with the leaders, racing 3rd. Davidia Hanover is 4th. Opening quarter, Swift 28 2/5. Made it past the stands the first time, and Great Singing shows away a length and a half. Scotch Notch on the inside is 2nd. Smoky Baby right there with the leaders, racing 3rd. Davidia Hanover next after rail 4th. Baroque is 5th. Vonda Hanover moved to the outside 6th. Cassandra Lobel has the best view. They race into the clubhouse turn, and Great Singing maintains command of length. Scotch Notch on the inside 2nd. Davidia Hanover first over underway on the outside is 3rd. Halfway home 59 2/5. Off the turn and down the backstretch, they'll have to catch Great Singing. She leads at a half length. Davidia Hanover to challenge on the outside 2nd. Scotch Notch down at the rail is 3rd. Baroque in the passing lane with cover is 4th. Little Smoky Baby along the inside 5th. Vonda Hanover on the outside 6th. And Cassandra Lobel trails the field 7th. 3/4, 129 flat. Now they race on the final turn, and Great Singing holds the lead by a length. Davidia Hanover is still right there after on the outside 2nd. Scotch Notch then along the inside, Lax racing in 3rd. Baroque on the outside 4th. Smoky Baby is 5th. They drive through the lane, and Great Singing has the lead. Davidia Hanover on the outside 2nd. Scotch Notch along the inside is 3rd. Coming out of the finish, Great Singing wins the Breeders' Crown. Herve Filion mile 157 4/5.
Grade Singing with a big move from third to first and then holding off all the opposition. 28 and 2 the quarter, 59 and 2 the half. 129 was the three-quarter mark, and the final time 157 and 4. And Ellie, let's take a look at the stretch drive again as they tried to close in on the great mare Grade Singing, but they just couldn't do it. It was Davidia Hanover on the outside and Scotch Notch at the rail, turning for home.
Well, Dave, Herve drove a very smart race. He backed off the second turn for 31 seconds and just hung on tight to this mare coming down the lane. Davidia Hanover putting in a very game effort, first over, putting Scotch Notch in the two-hole here. The mare just didn't have it to beat Davidia or Grade Singing, but Grade Singing ends up breaking the track record for age trotting mares, 157 and 4. A fabulous race, a fabulous mile, and a great drive by Herve Filion.
Our jewel of the crown, Herve Filion, comes through. The fans here love this horse. She closed at 1-2. Hope that you were a winner. That's the story so far, but we'll be back with the winners, and we'll talk to Herve Filion, and we'll watch it again as Grade Singing wins the big one, the Breeders' Crown tonight. We'll be back after these messages. A round of applause as Herve Filion and Grade Singing come into the winner's circle again. I would just wonder how many victories Herve is going to rack up in a career that he says is going to go to 65. And what about the time on this race? The lifetime mark for Grade Singing going in was 157 and 2 on a 5/8 mile track. I really didn't think she was going to come close to it, but she did, just 2/5 of a second off the track, off of her own lifetime mark, and shattering the one here.
Well, I really didn't think she was going to either, because it is a cool evening, and the half was in 59 and 2. She trotted her last half in 58 and 2 and trotted her last quarter in 28 and 4 and was strong as ever under slight urging from Herve Filion. 2 ticks off of her lifetime mark, Dave. I do believe if the weather was warmer and we didn't have the kind of wind we had, she could have broke her lifetime mark.
And Davidia Hanover was trying gamely on the outside, but just couldn't make it.
That was a tremendous mile by Davidia Hanover, because first over is very tough.
Right now, let's go to Alan Kirschenbaum and Herve.
Herve Filion, the victorious driver in tonight's Breeders' Crown. Herve, Grade Singing doesn't often show a lot of gate speed out of there. Did you know she could leave like that?
Oh, yeah, I always knew she could leave. You know, I just never used it, you know, because, you know, I always had to race from behind. She was handicapped, so, you know, but tonight, you know, the field that she was in, I felt, you know, that she has a good second and a half, the best, so I just didn't give her racing room and just make sure that there was no mishap, no trouble, so that's why I went to the front. When you're the best, I feel the best way to win is when you're in front.
Herve, we're going to watch the race on the monitor. Why don't you tell us about the race as it was going on?
Well, what do you call it? You know, I left out of there when the 2-horse came at me, you know. I was not so worried about the 2-horse. I was a little bit leery about Michael on my back, you know, because he's got a top mare in there. She's a good mare. But around the last turn, I give him a shot. You know, we came last 128 and 4, and she was comfortable all the way, and I was too, because, you know, I warmed her up tonight the fastest I ever warm her up all year. I warm her up on mile 21, which is not that fast, but she felt good. You know, her wheel was, everything was perfect for her.
Did you ever feel like you were going to lose this race?
No, I tell you, never, there's no doubt in my mind, never, you know, but you never know. A million and one thing can happen in a horse race. But the mare was good all the way, but there was no trouble at all.
Herve Filion wins the Breeders' Crown. Let's go back to Dave Johnson.
And I have an idea that Grade Singing is going to be named the divisional champion. What do you think?
I think so. After that kind of mile, I do believe so.
Well, thanks very much for joining us. It's been a great evening here at Scioto Downs as Grade Singing establishes herself as the favorite. In fact, she's wrapped it up. She is going to win the Breeders' Crown, and she's going to be the divisional winner for aged trotters mares. And here are the prices: $3, $2.20, and $2.10 for Grade Singing, who was the favorite. Davidia Hanover paying $3 and $2.20, and Scotch Notch $2.20 to show. The official order of finish there from top to bottom. Breeders' Crown 86, the aged mare trot, has been brought to you by the nationwide investment firm of First Jersey Securities. Come grow with us. And by Castleton Farms, a tradition of excellence. Be sure and be with us 2 weeks from now for the $260,000 aged horse and gelding trot, live from Louisville Downs at 8:30 Eastern, right here on ESPN. Again, Grade Singing the winner.